Welcome to today's workshop on our new product, Data Prep. I'm Chris Matty, founder and chief revenue officer here at Versium. And for those people who aren't familiar, I know there's a lot of people who are on the call today that are existing customer of ours using our various services. But for anybody who is new, Versium is a data technology company. We operate a whole suite of data tools that help marketers optimize their use of data in their journey of marketing and being data driven in that journey. And really that is three things we like to think about. We like to clean and fix first party data to make it most usable, enrich it with a lot more data, whether it's additional contact points or insights data like demographics or segmentation, and then tools that help marketers take action on that data to reach their target audience, whether it's through email, digital, or other mechanisms. Today we're going to talk about Data Prep. It's our latest tool that we're launching. It's in a free trial right now. So for those people who are interested, who are in this webinar, you can get free access to it for a period of time as we're just launching this new solution. And there's going to be a lot of new tools that we add. We're going to talk a little bit about dirty data here in the brief slide deck, and then we'll jump into a demo and show you this great new tool. So as we think about marketing and the growth of marketing, data has really been the key to maximizing its effectiveness, certainly in our digital and connected world. And today, 78% of marketers say that their marketing is data-driven. And as time goes along, more and more data sources are being used by both B2B and B2C marketers. The problem is that only 38% of marketers are satisfied with this data. And one of the biggest problems is data hygiene or data quality. And we have seen just about everything over the past decade as we do our different, as we provide our different solutions, as far as people providing us data to fix it, to enrich it. There are all kinds of problems within data, and many people don't even realize that these errors and these problems exist. So data cleansing is a huge problem. Completeness of data, do we have all of it? Is it accessible? It's in multiple data silos. There's a whole evolving spectrum of solutions within the customer data platform that is centralizing this data. And then, of course, we got things like future evolving privacy and so on. So lots of issues around the use of data to make it most effective in marketing. As far as dirty data is concerned, I mean, there is a pretty substantial story to be told here. According to Salesforce, 50% of data in the CRM goes bad every year. And to the extent that data is being used in marketing and sales and other activities, just imagine if 50% of it is not good, it's not being effectively used. Experience performed a recent study that found that 91% of companies suffer from outdated data errors, or inaccurate data. So this is a problem that affects just about every business and every marketer. A good example of this is a very large auto dealer we work with. They found that 63% of the emails in their CRM were invalid and could not receive messages. So you can just imagine the impact that has on the ability to do email marketing. And in the B2B world, 51% of Americans change employers every 1 to 5 years. The average person stays at their current job only 3 years. So if you've got a bunch of business contact data in your various systems, that erodes over time in its effective use in your different marketing activities. So how does data get bad? Well, it's gathered in many means. At any time there is human entry, there is an opportunity for errors in data entry. Oftentimes people just put in false information. We see Mickey Mouse all the time, or fake addresses, or maybe instead of putting in New York, they put in the Big Apple. There's lack of standardization. So data gets into these systems through multiple mechanisms, and invariably there's all sorts of problems with this data. Fake identities and bots. It's amazing, but literally 34 to 64% of internet traffic is computer generated. It's not actual people. And because of that, all sorts of fake identity data finds its way into these different systems. And in fact, I was just talking to a big ad tech partner of ours who did a deep strug on their identity within the ad tech system. And they confirmed that about 55% of their traffic, they believe, is bot or computer generated versus actual human activity. So the types of data issues, and we'll get into a lot more detail on what some of these things look like here in a moment, but contact data validation, email, address, phone, identity data that has problems. And these are the key data elements that allow a marketer to effectively reach their target audience through various different channels. There can be errors and omissions that not just is it valid, but did somebody hit a shift to get an @ symbol? If not, they're going to get a 2. If maybe they didn't type in .com, they typed in .con. There are literally hundreds of things that can occur just with an email. Lack of standardization and normalization. Is the email or is the address in 1 field or 4 fields? Sometimes we see emails where the name should be. Cell structure shifts, things of that nature. And then a big problem, especially when we start talking about centralizing the data into a centralized data lake so that it can maximize its value, there is all sorts of problems with duplicate records. And in some files, someone might be named Bob Smith. In another file, that same person might be Rob Smith. So all sorts of these types of problems get in the way of of data being used most effectively. And there's a huge cost associated with this. A few years back, Procter & Gamble shut down 200 million of media ad spend because they found out that 50% of that spend was going to bad data or to computer-generated traffic, meaning 50% of that spend was wasted because it wasn't hitting an actual person. That's over $100 million. Serious Decision did a study recently that said that organizations that utilize best practices could realize nearly a 70% revenue benefit. And what I mean by best practices, I mean best practices is utilizing data and maximizing data quality. So there is a huge cost associated with these problems we're highlighting, and it's a big problem. Fixing it is also a challenge. There's a 1-10-100 rule that Serious Decisions likes to comment on, which is it takes $1 to verify a record as it's entered, $10 to cleanse it and dedupe it, and $100 per record if nothing is done. Imagine if you paid for a lead at $100 or $200 or something to that effect, and it's bad data. Or you spent your marketing budget, your cost per acquisition, or your cost per lead. If it's bad data, that's a dramatic impact. So big cost to fix it. And that's really where we've come in with a really cool new tool that automates the data cleansing process, which we're gonna get into here, very imminently. Before I do get into the actual live demo, I want to highlight some of the things we do with the tool, since I can't really show everything here in a 30-minute demo, and which would bore everyone to death anyways. But what we've done is we've created a system that automatically does a deep diagnosis of a data set, identifies deep field inspection, identifies all the problems within the data, and then the user can, via self-serve, easy-to-use tool, select which rules or actions they want to apply to the data set to fix the data. It may be that you don't want a clean email because you want that field exactly as it's entered, even with an error, because it's some sort of key login or something to that effect. On the other hand, if you want to email market, you certainly want to correct it. There are literally hundreds of automated rules or actions that are built into this tool. In V1, I'll show you what is in V1 now, just really quickly. You can clean the email, clean the name, both first name, last name, and business name. There's a whole bunch of cleanse operations around city and state, fixing bad entry errors, standardizing city, a fuzzy location where somebody might call it the Big Apple and that's New York, or the City of Angels and that's Los Angeles, where we standardize it to a true actual name. So all sorts of location corrections, standardizations. Cleaning phone numbers. Is the phone number valid? It checks for validity. It checks for bad data. All sorts of things around standardizing uppercase and capitalization. Job rank, job function. LinkedIn has over 1 million job titles. You can imagine how difficult that is if you're trying to kind of have a standardized job title as far as targeting within your B2B world, things of that nature. Splitting out full name, last name, and things of that sort. I mentioned fuzzy location. Maybe you're a B2B marketer and you've got a bunch of emails and you want to extract the domain. to be able to launch an ABM campaign. Some IP checks, name to email. As we get further down the list, they become more and more complicated in terms of things like date extraction, merging date fields, and then we get into things in the future that we'll be launching around dedupe and other things. So lots of tools, lots of actions. These are all of the actions that are currently available in the tool. I'm not going to be able to show all of them. But with that said, let's jump over into the product. And I'm actually going to show you how it works. Oh, I've been logged out. Going to log back in here. And there we go. Okay. So we're now in our main solution called Versium Reach. And you can think of Versium Reach as a data processing workbench with a bunch of data tools for the marketer. Each one of these blocks represents different things we can do in the broader tool for both B2B and B2C marketers. So it's a full platform with a variety of data tools that are all available within a single subscription. We're going to jump into data prep. That's our latest solution. You can sort of see on here the other things we have, and I know a number of the people on this call are already using some of these tools. So again, data prep is a simple, easy to use product that takes away, it's like a no-code solution. You don't have to hire data scientists, data analysts to fix data sets. You'll see at the end, we're also working to be able to configure an API so that once you decide which flow of data correction or which tools you want to apply, you can save that and actually hit an API, not just use a UI for data upload, and do the corrections automatically and programmatic via API. With that, I'm jump in here and we're going to show you how easy it is to fix your data. The first thing is upload. We've got integration into multiple different platforms. You can upload directly from HubSpot. You can use existing databases. We're going to just upload a file directly from my computer here. It's as simple as that to upload. I'm just going to show you what this data looks like really quickly that we've just uploaded in the system. So this is a sample data set. It's a pretty small file. For PII protection purposes, we're very sensitive around that. You'll see some interesting names in here: Fraser Crane, Tony Stark, Peter Parker. So you're not seeing any real data. So we're very careful about privacy concerns and so on. So that's why you see some fun names in here. You also see data errors, right? There's a star that shouldn't be there. There's a dot. Last name shouldn't have a number in it. Chicago PD, what's the deal with that business? Windy City, City of Angels. And then job functions. How do we standardize this? You'll notice here in email, we got a phone number where the email field is. There's a problem with, there's no .com in Google. So just some examples. There is a lot. I can tell you there's a lot of problems in this file. Virtually every record in this file is bad. I just wanted to highlight a few things that we've just uploaded into the system. The next step is to confirm the upload process, our product, and it does this with all files we upload. We want to make sure we've identified the field structure of the data, the columns, if you will. Sometimes we get people uploading files or data that doesn't even have a header. It'll operate if there is no header, as you can see here. And really what we're doing here is, number one, we're showing the fill rate for each column. How often is city contained in this file? 77% of the time. How often is the business domain included within this file? Things of that nature. So you get a sense of what's in there. We also just want to confirm that we, in fact, identified the right columns. We can actually determine if this column is last name, if it's full name, even if there's no header that defines it. And if there is an error, you can go in. If we mischaracterize it, you can go in and change it. But it's usually pretty solid. I rarely see it not identify the columns correctly. The next step is where we really start getting into the fun stuff. I can't tell you how many times we've worked with customers and partners where they've said, our data is great, right? Maybe we're doing a data enrichment solution where we want to add demographics to a data set. And we see, whoa, wait a minute. Normally we match at about 75%, meaning if we've got a first name, last name, and an address in a data set, we can provide back 400-ish fields of demo data. But for some reason, this file is only matching at 40%. Well, lo and behold, we look at it and we see, oh, well, there's a bunch of bad data in there. How can you match to an address when the address has an email in it instead of a physical address, for example? And oftentimes people just don't realize what is going on in their data. How bad is it? And so this is our diagnosis tool. It does a deep field inspection, which means it looks at all of the fields in the data set. It looks at and it identifies, and there's some examples over here, and we'll jump into this, what is wrong with the file. You'll notice this file has 100 records, 12 columns. 100% of this data is bad. And the types of things we're seeing that are wrong are bad formatting, data's not normalized, bad values, not a North American record. The length is too short. Maybe it's a phone number. Why does it only have, it doesn't have enough digits? This is the file in total. You can look at each individual column and see what's wrong with it. For this file, 100% of the phone data is bad. And it shows why. Bad formatting, not normalized, not North American. We actually check to see, is it a valid number? We can go in here and look at email, and you'll see there's a phone number in an email field. There's a question mark. There's a comma, NA, number 13. These are not email records. Let's look at state. We want to standardize state with a 2-letter digit versus you'll notice here, this is all caps and there's full words. We just want to standardize this. And in some cases, there's missing fields. We just want to, or not an error, rather, we just want to take that out so it doesn't break any systems. And then let's take a look at first name for an example. And again, this is 20% of the first names are bad. They're badly formatted. And by bad formatting, we need, look at all these errors. There's characters that shouldn't be there. The data prep action will be to clean that, and we'll even show you what the data will look like as it's done. And this is actual data within the data set that we're looking at. So we're extracting some of this bad data, highlighting and showing what it looks like, and therefore you kind of get a better sense of what's going on within your data set. And this is one of the most valuable tools in the step here or process, because it really does help give that visibility to what's going on. So now that we know what's wrong with the data, let's fix it. This is where we get into really the data, the automated data cleansing process. It's the data prep work area. It automatically identifies suggested actions based upon the diagnosis. You can also add additional actions that are not identified in diagnosis, because there's a whole set of additional tools you might want to apply, and we'll show some of those here in a moment. And then there's a sort of a sandbox area here, if you will, where we've extracted some of the data, and you'll actually see some of the data. You'll see some of the corrections that have been made as you're going through and doing a fixing process. And again, after you define what actions you want to take, ultimately, as we continue to roll out feature functionality, the ability to have an automated data flow based upon the pipeline of actions that can be accessed via an API is available, and we'll show you that at the end. So we're going to go through and just fix the first things that, or the things that the diagnosis identified. We're going to fix the first name. We're going to clean the email. And let me show you. So we're going to click on just the clean email section for a moment. That's the action I just highlighted. And you can actually click on view relevant columns, and it's going to jump right to those columns and show you, oh, here's the old email, here's the corrected email. We're going to clean the state name. And let's see what else we're going to clean. There's 3 things. We're going to do one other thing here. Last name, city, state. And we're going to clean the phone number. So those are the first 4 actions based upon some of the things our diagnosis have highlighted. But there's a bunch of other things we can do here. We're going to go over to email. Let's get out of the current one. Do a new action. Go to email, which is the column. And there's all sorts of different things you can do with email. we're going to extract the domain. And again, when you see these selected actions, those are what I showed in that long list of actions we can take. And in V1 of the solution, it's what is in that PDF, which we can send out to everybody. But there's a whole slew of additional ones as we continue to evolve the solution. Select extract domain, and it's going to pull out, let's assume you're a B2B marketer, you've got a bunch of business emails, and you want to take out the domain, just the domain, because you want to load that into your system or into another ABM system to launch an ABM campaign. Maybe you want to identify additional people. We have an ABM solution that allows you to input a domain and identify people with certain job functions, job titles. We'll pull all of the contact data for those people, and you can either launch a digital campaign or an email campaign or what have you. So we're going to apply that action. So we're going to add that one. Another one I'd like to highlight is what we call fuzzy logic. So you'll notice down here in the sandbox, City of Angels. You know, some people call Seattle Emerald City. There's all sorts of different, I guess, nomenclatures for a location. And oftentimes those things cannot be matched in a database. You really need to standardize them. So we'll apply a fuzzy logic rule. I can scroll down, or I can just type right in here, fuzzy logic, fix fuzzy location. And we're going to extract the city, state, and show you what it looks like to correct this data. So we're going to apply that action. And again, you can keep going through and selecting all the different actions you want to take on the data set. I think this is a good set here for demo purposes. We've kind of got our plan in place, and we're ready to fix this data based upon the actions we've selected. So we hit next step, and that's it. We've actually gone through this entire data set. Obviously, it's going to take a little longer for a large file, but we've corrected and taken all of the actions that I've highlighted or that we selected to do on this data set. And it's ready for download, but before you do that, you might want to change the configuration of what this file is going to look like. For example, we have the original data, but let's assume, oh, here's the original email. We knew there was a lot of bad emails. Let's move that column right next to, the email. So you're basically able to switch the structure of the data because you want to have that clean email right next to an email. And we want to take the clean state, move it up to the old state. Maybe we want to change this name because we don't like the word clean email. We're just going to call it new email. New email. So we're going to change that header title. We always keep the old one so that you can see just by clicking the information I button, clean email. That was the original structure. So if we go in here and you want to change the structure of your original file, maybe you want to change it from last name to login or something. Maybe use last name as a login. You can actually change it using this edit function. The other thing you can do is you can actually delete. So we've now got a new clean email. We're good there. We don't need the old email because it's bad. In fact, what we're going to really do is we're going to delete out the phone number because we saw there was 100% bad phone numbers. First, we want to move the phone number up to, where is phone number here? Phone number right next to the old phone number. And we're going to delete that one. So we've basically reconfigured this whole file. You can scroll over and see, here's the new clean email sitting right next to the old email. Let's find, we didn't move city, but you'll see that we changed, let's find City of Angels. Well, you'll notice that will say Los Angeles now. City of Angels. I didn't move that column over, so we'll have to scroll over here and we'll see that's been changed with the city extraction. We fixed it to Los Angeles. You'll also see if we, the extracted domains here that we pulled out. So really this is a preview of what's been done so you can confirm everything is performing exactly as you'd like. So now we're ready to get that file out and drop it into whatever system you want to utilize. Maybe you want to launch it in an email campaign and you're going to upload it into an external email data set. Next step, let me just broaden this out so it's you see just that. Want to give this file a name. Oops, data prep workshop number 3, and create the file. It's in queue. It's processing that data and getting it ready for you to pick up. There may be other files in work, so this will take just a second. And there, we're done. Now it's ready for export. You can export the data set right here as a CSV. You can take some other actions. You can create an online audience. You can tap into some of our other tools over here on the left. First thing I want to highlight is just sort of what we did here. Data input, this particular file set had 100% of bad data. And based upon what we corrected, there is 0% of these columns. We fixed all the columns according to the data flow, data actions we wanted to take. So it just sort of summarizes what we did. You'll notice there's some pricing up here. Again, it's free for a period of time as we're just getting people to engage in this new solution, give us feature and functionality feedback. It's just been launched, so I'm sure there's a lot of ways we can make it better. Here's the actual details of what we did. You can see the actions. We cleaned the phone number, we cleaned the state, we extracted the domain, how many empty fields were in the data set, how many fields were modified, how many fields were erased because they were invalid or there was nothing to be cleaned, but there was just maybe there was a star in the email field. Well, you can't really identify an email, but what you want to do is you just want to erase and delete that so it's not breaking any systems or causing any problems as you use this file in different ways. And then for each action, how much data remaining is remaining to be bad. In this case, we fixed everything. So that's pretty much it. One last thing. I mentioned an API. So once you've configured what exact actions and tools you want to apply to the data set, and different data bases, data files might have different requirements, different use cases, different actions you want to take. Maybe for this file, all you really want to do is fix the email. Once you've configured that, you can save that configuration, and we create an API endpoint where you can hit that API and it'll automatically apply that specific set of rules to any data set that hits that API. And that really is data prep. Hopefully you found that a useful demo. It's very easy to use. Again, it's an integrated solution into our overall data processing workbench, Versium Reach, that I know many of you on this call are already using, and we'd certainly love to share and get more of you using it as well. I'm going to jump back over to the presentation, and we're going to jump into some Q&A and other things. So let's just jump over there and play the slideshow on the current slide. There we go. Okay. Before we get into Q&A, Garrett here is the product person and visionary who's built this whole solution. He's been patiently listening to my demo, and I'm going to turn it over to Garrett to talk about what is in the work with this solution, what's coming, what are some of the added features that are coming beyond what you just sort of saw in this quick demo. Garrett, take it away.
Thanks, Chris. Yeah, as Chris was saying, data prep right now has a plethora of actions to choose from, and we're really just, I think, touching the tip of the iceberg here. We do have some actions in the works that we're looking to add. Some of these mimic some of the things you could do in Excel, but we're trying to do things at scale here. So, and we're also looking at, how we can chain a cleansing process together. So we're not just thinking of it as like adding one action and you're done. Maybe you want to do something else, like consolidate your phone values into a standard string and then output it as a specific format. So same thing with addressing or addresses, being able to parse or combine depending on the different data sets. Some clients are, deal with it in one form, some deal with multiple sources, and you have multiple fields versus dealing with the same 3 or 4 fields. So that's in the works right now. One thing that's coming soon, and we're definitely interested on gaining feedback on is the future features. So a big thing that we're looking to do is, we have a lot of services right now in Reach. So we want to begin the pen process. Another thing we have here is being able to extend our diagnosis functionality, identifying duplicate entries, email validation, and then also saving a process in case you want to be able to run that multiple times. And, if there's something you're interested in and you don't see it, I always recommend like reaching out to the team or your account rep, and we can have a conversation and see if that's something that we want to include in data prep, because we're definitely eager to expand upon it. And I think everybody's cleaned up data in Excel. We're really here to try and solve an issue and really bring value to save some time here with, cleansing data.
Question about phone data being deleted. So the data the original data is never deleted. It's always maintained unless the user chooses to delete a column. I may have gone through it pretty quickly, but I had selected to delete that phone, the original phone column, when I highlighted that you could actually delete a column. So that's what occurred there. I don't know, Garrett, if there's anything further you would add, even if they delete the column, do we have it preserved somewhere? If there's
Yeah.
deletion, for example.
You can go back and re-add a column at the top of that page. So it's not permanently deleted if you make a mistake and hit the wrong X. You can bring that back and drag that back down. We also, maintain that original name, which is that eye icon. The other thing I think is you may have seen in the actions that a phone number was deleted, and what we're able to actually identify is there can be fake phone numbers. So you see like in movies and things like that, they throw up phone numbers. Traditionally a phone number with 555 in the 555 in the middle is a fake phone number. And so we actually cleanse those out. And so some of those were in that sample data set. So that might be also why you saw a deleted phone number.
Yes, thank you guys. So we did get some questions while the demo was being done. So let's go start with, are there required fields for cleansing?
Required fields for cleansing. I mean, I think that generally speaking, it has to be a field that we can do something with. Garrett, I don't know if you want to comment. I'm not 100% sure I'm understanding the question, but in terms of required fields, obviously, you have to have an email to fix an email, phone number, address. I don't know if there's a minimum set of data. I believe we can handle even one column. I don't know how you would maybe answer that question.
Yeah, I think, data prep's a little different, and while the import process is a little similar to our other services, we don't require like first name, last name, or email to run a data prep job. When you saw Chris doing that import process and there was that mapping, it's really helping with that data type and identifying that, so you're able to apply the appropriate action. So data prep understands like, oh, this is a email, therefore email actions are appropriate here. That way we don't get into a situation where you're able to apply actions that could create dirty data for you because you're using something that's not the right data type. So that's really what that's about. So we support, as Chris would say, we can cleanse quite a bit of data. Right now we're diagnosing a small set of that. So you can actually clean or standardize a lot more than what we can diagnose. And again, if there's any feedback on that, you're interested in being able to look at other data sets in that diagnosis report, like we're happy to have that conversation and look at that.
Yeah, and I want to just reemphasize that point here. This is a product we're really excited about, but there's so much more we can do. And we've had at least 10 or 12 beta trial customers help guide us along the way as far as what the priorities are, which rules are important, what are they seeing. This is a great opportunity to get involved, use it for, at no cost, and let us know what you'd like. Let us know what your problems are, and really help us define the features that suit your needs. And it's a great opportunity. So really love to invite folks to engage with this solution. Garrett is available for everybody to have calls, demos, private demos, and the rest, as well as me. So it's a really great opportunity. Love for everyone to get involved as much as their interest is. So go ahead, Alice. I'm sure we have a few more.
Yes, we do. Okay, thank you for answering that. Next question is, what is the pricing plan for the Versium data prep?
Oh, thanks. Yes, I meant to mention that on that last page. So the way Reach works, for those people who use it already know, it's based on a match credit system. In other words, whenever we touch a record, i.e., if we're doing enrichment and we add an email or add a phone number, that's a match credit. Some services are, business emails, a greater number. It's not one, it's maybe 3 match credits. The way data prep works is for every 10 records fixed, corrected, or adjusted, it's 1 match credit. That's when we start charging for it. Again, it's free right now. And we're exploring pricing as we engage with customers. And by the way, when you fix a single record, you can do many fixes. Maybe a record has a bad email, bad phone, bad address. All 3 of those would be included as one single record that's corrected. It's not per action, it's just per record. So if we cleaned a row by whatever mechanisms, even if it's 3 or 4 or 5, it only counts as one of the 10 rows for 1 match credit.
Awesome. That's great. Thanks for that. Another question came in. Does this clean B2B or B2C data?
Well, Garrett, I'm waiting for a tough one that I need your help with, but I can get this one here.
Yeah. Okay.
It does both. And, there's some different actions. Obviously, a business name is applicable only to business, things of that sort, but it does clean both B2B and B2C data. And that really highlights, one of our views is that there are B2B and B2C marketers. Some people overlap, but our tool supports both across, but there are different tools that apply to a B2B data set more so than B2C.
Great. Thank you for that, Chris. And we do have another question. What data sources do you leverage to hydrate the contact data?
What data sources do we use to hydrate? I'm going to take that to mean not fix an email, because those are all our rules and our algorithms and our, what we've seen. And so there's many actions that could be used. But if we're talking about add additional emails, it's our own proprietary data set. We own the data. We have well over 400 or 500 million unique US email addresses. We're bringing in 20 to 40 million emails a month, and that are all not net new. There's a very small sliver that are net new, but we're constantly seeing email data. And there's a variety of sources that this comes from. We're very sensitive to consent management. So we're getting the data where sources where consumers provided consent for use of that email, for use with third parties, for use with marketing messages. And it can come from third-party co-registration forms. Oftentimes, we have to put it through a bunch of data cleansing before it can even be used, and data verification. We have our own email validation service for email deliverability. So a multitude of different sources. We can certainly, for the person who asked that question, contact me directly, and we can certainly get into a lot more detail if there's any further information needed, concerns or otherwise. But all of our data, or most all our data is proprietary. We own it. We don't license the data from an Axiom and D&Bs and companies like that. We're actually a data supplier to many of those types of companies. So hopefully that answered that question.
Great. All right. Let's see here. We have another question, Chris and Garrett. Let's see here. How easily can I export the data that I have cleansed using data prep?
Well, Garrett, I'm going to take a first stab at it, but I'll let you add any color if you'd like to highlight more. It's as simple as I just showed. You hit the export button and the CSV file is available within your account at Reach. Or you can ultimately, as time goes along, different API access to the solution, be able to extract it directly via API. But anything, I mean, it's fairly straightforward, Garrett, but anything you'd like to add there?
Yeah, I think totally agree there, Chris. The other piece is the configuration aspect. I think, that's really you being able to customize your output so that it fits your needs and is ready to be uploaded into, whatever tool you need to use to either deploy your campaign or go back into your CRM. I know some systems have certain field requirements or certain headers need to be named a certain way. So, we're really trying to make it as easy as possible from, not only you being able to quickly download your CSV, but also being able to utilize that CSV for your specific needs.
Yeah, and I'd ask you to layer one thing. One of the big things we have a lot of ongoing efforts with here at Versium is integrations. And we're integrated into multiple CDPs. We're integrated into marketing automation platforms. We've got Zapier's integration. So the ability to seamlessly take data in and extract data out is a huge important aspect of what we're doing. And there's a really rich set of APIs for all of our tools that allow a data flow in and out of our systems to make it as easy as possible. For those people who are, maybe initially aren't, maybe they don't have the dev cycles initially to tap into the APIs, the UI is easy to use to upload and extract data.
That's great. We do have another question that popped up, and it is from Kathleen. Have you discussed with Lytics their updating integration to include data prep?
Great question. We have had some discussions with many of our partners about how we can facilitate data cleansing within the different partners we work with. We're working on a number of things with them. So that's probably a question we probably want to handle more directly, just given the nature of the partner integration. So, Kathleen, if you want to reach out, we can talk further about that.
Okay, great. And let's see here. We do have another question that pulled up. Do you have an API to support the service?
Yeah, I mean, I think we covered that in the sense that Garrett, why don't you elaborate on kind of where I would just say at a high level, but let you maybe grab some detail, is the view of ultimately as we see this is that once you configure what you want to do, you can hit an API to accomplish specifically that. So think of the UI as a configuration tool, but then we will automatically construct an API that will apply the specific rules that you configured and set up. But maybe Garrett, and that of course could be set up in an external system as well, so that you can do it programmatically from an external system. But Garrett, anything else you would add? I know we have a very, very rich API set of solutions here in strategy. So
Yeah, right now our APIs are available. So all the actions that we've been discussing are available in those APIs. You can configure them to have part of it, which is a little different from some of our other APIs. Like, since we talked about before, you're not required to have specific fields. Those APIs can have, a few actions, all the actions, and all of that information right now is up on our developer portal. We also offer like a short and a long form version of the API. So there's also examples for the actions. So yeah, if you're interested, take a look. If you have more questions or interested in talking about it, or want some support, we're happy to have those discussions too. So feel free to reach out.
Great. That is actually all the questions we have come in so far. And there is someone that asked, where do you go to get started in using this? And I'll be including that in the chat, versium.com/data-prep. And you're able to get more information on data prep. But yes.
Yeah, I think hopefully everyone found that useful. We're really excited about this solution. It's just this out of the gate. It's just at the starting point. We really love for you to engage with it. Use it for free during the beta period. Give us feedback. If we need to extend the number of records, we can do some things along that to allow you to really use it. And really, we welcome the suggestions, the feedback, because we want all of you folks and our customers and new customers to help us define the best solutions in the market. So thank you very much for your time. Don't hesitate to reach out to any of us, either myself directly, and we'd love to answer any questions you have.